Okay, we're middle of dealing with where today we're doing Daf Lamed Daled Amid base. Sachmat Lamed Daled Amid. We finished off yesterday with a case of someone who sticks truma into the ground. We said that if they stick truma into, he plants truma cabbages into the ground. So we said that even though they become tar now because he put them into the ground, but they still have an element of tuma, meaning they still will not be 100% kosher, 100% tar. So we had a discussion why won't they be 100% tar. So we finished off yesterday with a answer of Shesha. Shesha said the reason why they're not 100% tar is because even though if you put them in the ground they become a new mitzias, but since you had hesach hadas, since the person who planted them wasn't able to watch them, wasn't able to take care of them while they went to the ground, so there's no chance 100% sure that they tar. So we went through a discussion whether hesach hadas is a psul aguf. Doesn't mean when Rabbi said that something which you took your mind off is a suffix. So it doesn't mean that it's psul aguf. Rabbi said that that it's as if it's tamei, or do we say that it's a suffix? And if it's a suffix, then maybe it's tamei, maybe it's not tamei. So that's what we went to a discussion. So we asked yesterday that if it's a psul aguf, so it makes sense. If it's hesach hadas is a psul aguf, meaning if you took your mind of something, then it's psul aguf. So if you put it inside the ground, so even though we know basically it's never a chance that the cabbage is actually tamei, but since it's a psul aguf, so it's in all cases we're gazing. But if you're going to tell me it's only a psul mitzad tuma, there's no this cabbage never became tamei. So therefore, even if you're Masechta das, it never became tamei. So therefore, maybe we asked the question. So that's what we left off yesterday. Now we're getting into discussion if hesach hadas is psul aguf or not. We're bringing an interesting question from the Beis Hamikdash. And the Mizbeach had a hole inside the Mizbeach. I'm sure you probably saw pictures of it. That inside the Mizbeach had a small cupboard, and they would take karbanos that became had a problem with them, and they had to be burnt for whatever reason. Either it became we're going to see a few cases soon. The main cases is that it became tamei. Either the owners became tamei or the meat became tamei, safik tuma. So they would take the meat and they would put it inside this cupboard until the texture of the meat loses its texture, meaning it's unfit to be brought in mizbeach ever again, and then they were burned. So we asked an interesting question like this. In the middle of the question, we're going to start from Zeh HaKlal. Zeh HaKlal, the last word on Daf Lamed Daled. Says the Gemara, Zeh HaKlal. The rule is like this. What's the rule? Kol she'psul begufei. Anything that's psul haguf, meaning anything that's for sure puzzle. For example, if the carbon for sure became tamei, or the carbon had pickle, meaning the kain had a different kavanah, or the carbon was left over, anything which is for sure puzzle, Yisaref miyad should be burned straight away. Meaning, if you have a carbon that became for sure puzzle, you don't put it inside this closet, you burn it straight away. But dam, if there was a problem with the blood, meaning the blood was spilled on the ground, let's say the blood of the carbon was spilled on the ground, or the blood became tamei, or the owners of the carbon became tamei, meaning after they shechted the carbon, the owners became tamei. So then what do you do? What do you do with the meat? So over here wasn't a problem with the meat. Over here's a problem with the blood or the owners. So the din is tubat surasan. You should take the meat and put it inside this closet, meaning you should wait until the next day when it becomes puzzle belina, and then then you can burn it in the base of safe. Okay, so now we see over here that a meat which is psul aguf, a meat that's for sure tamei, is we burn it straight away, and the meat which is only a suffix tamei, or basically there's no problem with the meat, it's only a problem with the owners, so you don't burn it straight away, you put it inside this cupboard and then you burn it. So we're asking back, this is a question of connection of yesterday. We asked if hesach hadas is a psul aguf, if you're taking your mind off of meat is psul aguf, why in the case that you're Masechta das from meat, or there's a suffix that the meat became tamei, do you have to put it inside the tubat sarasim? Why do you burn it straight away? If every case that Rabbanan said that a meat is a meat which became tamei, which is a suffix that became tamei, because you Masechta das in it, Rabbanan said that's always possible. So if so, why do you have to put it inside the closet? You should burn it straight away. There's an ayah that when Rabbanan said something is a problem. They didn't say it's for sure puzzle. They said that it's a suffix, it's a puzzle, and therefore you first have to put it into the closet to ubatzuras. You have to make sure it becomes puzzle to bring on this back, and then you can burn it. So that's the question we asked. Answers the Gemara. Answer the Ishlakish. Ishlakish says, "Amar lei." Ishlakish answered the Bechanan. It's a good question, but high Tana. This Tana that says that you have to put the meat. This mission that says that you have to put the psola guf, you burn it straight away, and other meat that you and other types of meat you don't burn straight away is Tana the Rabbi Baravu is the Tana who goes according to the Beis Medrash of Rabbi Baravu. What is the shita of Rabbi Baravu? The Amar Rabbi Baravu says afilu pigul, even something which is for sure tummy. Pigul is a carbon that the Kohen had the wrong kavanah when he shachted it. Even something which is for sure tummy, tone ibud surah, we don't burn it straight away. We burn it. We wait until it's burnt. So basically, there's machlekes tanoim what we do in a case when if you have meat that's for sure tummy, according to one tana, if you have meat that's for sure tummy, you do not burn it straight away. You burn it straight away. According to Rabbi Avua says that we don't burn the meat straight away, even if it's a short tummy. We put it inside the closet and we burn it the next day. Okay, now the Gemara goes into a new discussion. It's the same sugya, but we're speaking about a question on the Shlakish. Eisle, Bechanan asked the Shlakish a question. Says in the price like this: Nitma is shnifsa ba. So if the meat of a carbon becomes tummy, or the meat of the carbon became puzzle, or the meat went outside somehow of the azarim of Beis Hamikdash. What do we do with the blood of the carbon? Okay, so in Beis Hamikdash they shechted the carbon, they would makabel the dam, and then while they would makabel the dam, before they threw the dam in the mizbeach, they would take the meat and take the skin off until they bring the meat on the carbon on the mizbeach. Now, what if during the process of after he's makabel the dam, so the meat somehow went before he threw the blood in the mizbeach, somehow the meat went outside the azara, or the meat became possible. What do we do? So Rabbi Lezer says, Yisrek, throw the blood in the mizbeach, even though the carbon now is not 100% kosher carbon, but still you should throw the blood in the mizbeach. Rabbi Shua says, Lo Yisrek, you should not throw the blood in the mizbeach. So Machlekes Tanoim, Rabbi Lezer says throw the blood in the mizbeach, and Rabbi Shua says don't throw the blood in the mizbeach. Maybe Rabbi Shua, and Shua agrees to Rabbi Lezer that even though Rabbi Shua said you shouldn't throw the blood in the mizbeach, that's all lechatchila. But Rabbi Shua's made there shim zarak. If you did, the Kohen didn't listen to halacha and he stole through the blood in mizbeach chutza, that the carbon is kosher b'diavad, meaning that the person who brought the carbon, even though lechatchila the carbon was puzzle, but the person who brought the carbon, then he doesn't have to bring another one because b'diavad the Eibishter takes the carbon. Says the Gemara, my nifsa. What case is it talking about? So we had a few cases. We said in the Braisa, nitma became tamei, nifsa became puzzle, or went outside the azara. What does it mean nifsa? What case can it be that a carbon became puzzle? La behesach hadas is not talking about that it became puzzle. Behesach hadas, meaning that someone was left around and no one took care of the carbon, and that's what became puzzle. Because it can't mean that it became became tamei because we have a case of the Mishnah, the Braisa continues, Nitma became tummy. So what's the case of Nifsa? Nifsa must be that it was Hezek Hadas. And if so, we have a question. If you're going to tell me that Braisa is speaking about Hezek Hadas, if you're going to tell me that that the psul of Hezek Hadas is because it became tummy, meaning it's not for sure tummy, it's only a suffix tumah. So then, I know the mishkachas ladim, that's it. Then it makes sense whether the Beshua's shita is that even if you threw the blood, then the carbon is still kosher. Meaning that the tzitz is maratza. It says that the tzitz is mechaper for all the carbonos which are suffix tamei or suffix kosher. So it makes sense in the case that if the Kohen threw the blood, it's kosher. Ali amna psula gufava. If you're going to tell me that the din of Hezkadas is psula guf, that it's a din vada, it's for sure tamei. Am I tzitz? How can you tell me? How can Yeshua say that the tzitz makes it kosher? The tzitz only makes carbon shadim in a case that it's a suffix tam, or a case that or in the case that it's not 100% tamei. It's not 100% possible. If you tell me that Hesach Hadas is a din vadai, that is for sure tummy, it's for sure puzzle. So if it's for sure puzzle, then why is the tzitz mechaper? Says the Gemara, my nifsal. So in other words, we can't tell me that the pshat and brayso nifsal means that it became had Hesach Hadas. So answers the Shlakish, my nifsal, that which is said in the brayso that it became nifsal doesn't mean that it became Hesach Hadas. It's a new type of psul. How did the carbon become puzzle? Nifsal. Bet full yam, it became tamei because a full yam touched the carbon. Since a full yam touched the carbon, a full yam is a lower degree of tumah, and he touched the carbon. That's how it became possible. Says the Gemara, and even though since it's only and since a full yam is a full tumah, so then it's the tzitz is mechaper. Says the Gemara, if so, how do you tell me? This is the same case as the next case. The Mishnah says nifsal nitma. If a full yam is a tamei the kamench, and he touches the carbon. So why is the Mishnah right to say two cases of tumah? One case of a tulyam touching, and one case of a talmidik person touching. So the Gemara today gave me tumah. There's two different types of tumah. You have nitma of tumah gemura. Nitma is 100% tumah, and then you have nifsal of it became possible through a full yam. The full yam was a lower degree tumah, and the Brayso is still teaching us that the tzitz is mechaper for tumah. Okay, so now we're going back. So that's sugi. So now we're going back to the answer of Visheshus. Again, just to recap. We had a brayso we had yesterday, and 2 days ago we had a brayso that said shtili truma. If you have things of cabbages of truma that became tamei, the kohen cannot eat them. Why? Why can the kohen eat them? So Rav Shesha's answer: even if you plant them in the ground, the kohen cannot eat them because they had hesach hadas. The kohen wasn't able to watch them. Since wasn't able to watch them, the kohen cannot eat them after they grow. That was Rav Shesha's answer. Says the Gemara, when Rabbi came from Bavel to Yisrael, Rabbi came from it was Eila from Bavel to Yisrael. He said this answer of Rav Shesha. So the reason why the Kohen can't eat the cabbage is because it had Hesach Hadas. He said it in front of Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi lived in Eretz Yisrael, and in those days there were big fights, big machliks between the Amiram in Eretz Yisrael and the Amiram in Bavel. So when he said this answer in the name of Rav Sheshes to Rabbi Yirmiyah said, Rabbi Yirmiyah answered, Bavloi tipshai, the people of Bavel are tipshim, they're aggressive tipshim. Why? Why are they tipshim? They're not stam tipshim because they were born tipshim. Mishum the Yosri Bar the Chashecha Amnisa Shmaitza the Machashman. Since they live in a finster, they live in a dark place. They live in a place that's not Eretz Yisrael. They live in a place of Bavel. Therefore, whatever comes out of their mouth, they say Shmaitza the Machashon. They say dark sayings, meaning they don't know the Haimei halachas. They don't know when they say halach. They don't know what they're talking about. So that's what he said. And about Rav Shesha's answer. Why? What's the problem with Rav Shesha's answer? So Rabbi Yirmiyah said, did you not hear that Rav Shimon ben Lakish Mishmei Rabbi Yeshua? That which Rav Shimon Lakish said in the name of Rabbi Yeshua. That if a case of a mei hachag shnitmo, we know you have the sukkahs, we pour yain and we pour wine by simchas shev. They pour wine in the mizbeach, and the wine of the mizbeach they pour wine together with the karban tam shachar, and they would bring the wine from the Meir Shiloach, which was outside Yerushalayim. Yeah, it was outside Yerushalayim. So says the Gemara, Mei Hachag Shnitmo. What if you have the Mei Hachag, you have the water of the Nisach HaMayim became tummy? So then it's like this. Im Hishikon V'achakach Ekdeshon. Okay, so if it became tummy before you mark the shit, so that even though it's tummy, but if you connect it to a kosher mikveh, so now the water becomes toy. Once the water becomes toy, V'achakach Ekdeshon, then you can then you mark them to hate him. They are toy. Okay, so if you makdish them, in other words, if you have tamid kavasa, tamid water from the Meir Shiloach, and you connect it to tamid kosher mikveh, and then you'll makdish it, so you're able to take this water and pour it on this beach. That's what the Shimon Lakish says. What is faket? What if you have the Meir Shiloach and it became your makdish it? Your makdish before it became your makdish before you connected to the mikveh, hekdeshon v'achakach yishikon. If you magdish it and then you connected it to the mikveh, tmeim they're tummy. Says the Gemara, michdi zriya nino. In both these cases, meaning both the cases of saif you magdish it before, saif you magdish it after, what's the difference? you planted the Meshulach in a mikveh, and you connected the Meshulach to mikveh. So Mali Yeshirkan Vachgach Ekdishon, Mali Ekdishon Vachgach Shikon. Who cares if you're makdish it before or you makdish it after? What's the negea? If you're makdish it before, so then it doesn't work. But if you're makdish after, then it works. Why? Who cares? If it went through a mikveh, what's the problem? Alma, from here we see. So the Vish is taking an eye from here. She'ein zriya lehekdesh. Even though with that of klal, if you plant something, it makes it tired. When it comes to hekdesh, it doesn't work. So if you're makdish before and it became, if it was the hekdesh, and then it became, and it was tummy, and you put it in a mikveh, it doesn't work. Zriya doesn't help for hekdesh. So just like for the Meshiluach, it doesn't help to connect it to mikveh. If it's ready hekdesh, shachanami, so over here, you're going to the din of truma, ein zriya letruma. Even if you have a cabbage and it was truma and it was tummy and you planted it inside the ground, okay, you still can't eat it. Why? Because even though Badar Klal Zriya makes it tired, but for truma, it doesn't help. So why is Rav Sheish giving a ganze beer? Sheish is giving a whole answer that the reason why a kohen can't eat the cabbage, even though Zriya usually makes something tired, is because of Hes Chadas. He doesn't know what he's talking about. We can't speak of that, but the Yim is saying he doesn't know what he's talking about. We already had a case of almost the same case of Meir Shiluach. And it says Zriya doesn't help for Hekdesh. It doesn't help, even though B'dar Klal Zriya makes something new and makes something tired. In this case, it doesn't make it tired. Says the Gemara weiter. Yosef Rav Dimi v'kamal ala ha'shmaitza. Rav Dimi was sitting in the Medrash, and he was saying this shmaitza. He was saying this Indian of Rabbi that for running Hekdesh Zriya doesn't help. He said this in Beis Medrash. Amalei Abaye told of Dimi Hekdeshon bikli kaman avu bepeh lo yavd rabbanon maila idum bepeh nami yavd rabbanon maila. What's this case talking about? That the water was mukdish. What's the case talking about? We said in the Bryce that if it was makdish the water and then it be connected to mikveh, then it doesn't work. Then it stays tummy. But if it was makdish afterwards, then it stays tummy. What type of hekdesh was this? What type of hekdesh? In other words, what type of hekdesh did Rabbanan say that even though it went through a mikveh or even though it became a new mitzvah, it is still tummy? Is it a hekdesh that he put the water inside the kli shardus of the mizbeach of the Beis Hamikdash, and therefore it became hekdesh? He put it in the kaddish to kli, or does it mean it was makdish in repair? Makdish with his mouth. Makdish with his mouth is much more of a schwachere hekdesh than being makdish on makdish in the kli. So do we say that Rabbanan only goes in the case of makdish with kli, which is more of a starke hekdesh, or do we say that even a schwachere hekdesh, even a lower type of hekdesh, that he was makdish it on with his mouth? Does that also never become tar or not? That was Abaye's Sakira. So if Dimi answered Abaye like this, Amar later, if Dimi answered, Zo Laishamaiti, regarding the din regarding the case of the Meir Shiloach, I never heard a clear psak. I have a similar Gemara to prove that even if you only match with your mouth, it still can never become tar. What's the proof? Amar Babo said the name of Yechma. Anavim Shanitmu, if you have grapes that became tummy, and darchan, and then you grind it, you squeeze the grapes, you made wine, and then you makdish the wine. To hurt him, the wine is tied, and you can use the wine for the mizbeach. Yeah, we had a discussion about this already a few days ago. What's the gather of wine inside the grapes? Do we say the wine is part of the grapes, or do we say that the wine is only stored in the grapes? This goes according to the shita that the wine is only stored in the grapes, and therefore, if the grapes become tummy, it doesn't make the wine tummy, and therefore, if you squeeze the grapes, the wine is tired, and if you makdish the wine, then the wine is kosher from the mizbeach. If you were first makdish the grapes, so now you're squeezing tamidika hekdish kaddish grapes, and then the wine comes out. So Rabbanan said that even though usually the wine would be tired because you grinded the grapes, in this case the wine is tummy because you makdish it before. Now, what case are we talking about? What case? What does it mean you're makdish the grapes? Remember, we're trying to answer Abaye's question. Abaye's question is, only if you makdish in the kli sharis, in the kli Beis Hamikdash, or you makdish it also in your mouth. So Rav Dimi is being patient. Abaye's subject from this brayso. Says the Gemara of Ha'anavi Mikdushas Pendino. Filahachi Avu Rabbanon Maila. Rav Dimi says the only case that you could have your makdish grapes can be your makdish grapes inside the kli sharis, or the wine inside the kli sharis. because the klishar is only able to makabel something which you bring on the mizbeach, and grapes you can't bring on the mizbeach. So what does it mean hekdesh? What does it mean them? It must be a makdish in your mouth. Here we see that even if you makdish something in your mouth, once it becomes tummy, it can never become tummy. So that's what Rav Dimi answered Abai. Rav Yosef, so Rav Yosef answered, told Rav Dimi, it's not a good right, it's not a good proof. You're bringing a proof from grapes. Rav Yosef, you bring a proof from grapes. Hacha, ba'anavim shal truma skina. In the case of grapes, we're speaking about the Yom Makdish time. What does it mean Yom Makdish? We're speaking about Trumadik grapes. And the case of Truma, the way Yom Makdish, when you make something Truma, making something Truma is only with your mouth. So making something Truma has the same level of Hekdesh and making something Hekdesh through putting it in the clear of the Beis Hamikdash. Avalhani the boikli, but the water of the Nisach HaMayim Beis Hamikdash, you can't be Makdish them with your mouth. You could be Makdish with your mouth, but you can't. They don't have the same dusha as if you're going to put them inside a kli. So if you Makdish them only with your mouth, so since you only Makdish with your mouth, it doesn't count the same level of hekdesh, and therefore they can still become tied even after you makdish them with your mouth. So he tried to bring a proof from grapes. So grapes is not truma. Truma has the same level. The way you makdish truma is in your mouth. But on the other hand, truma has the same level of hekdesh as the kelim Beis Hamikdash, and therefore it's more of a higher achum dekadin. Shenk in the case of the water in Beis Hamikdash, so the mer shiluach. You can only it only becomes 100% hekdesh when you put it inside the klisharis, and therefore, as long as you didn't put it inside the klisharis, if you're makdish bepeh, Rabbanan never made it such a mile to make it never become tar. So now that we brought down this case of Rabbi Yechanan of squeezing the grapes of truma, we brought it down a few times. If you squeeze the grapes of truma, if you squeeze grapes which are tummy, the wine is tar. So Gemara is going to ask a question on this thing. We just mentioned before, darchan. If you squeeze the grapes, then we said the wine is tar. So if you makdish it before, then the wine is tum. If you makdish after, then the wine is tar. Says the Gemara, darchan. What does it mean, darchan? If you squeeze the grapes, squeezing the grapes doesn't give a sure how much you squeeze. If you squeeze the grapes, you said that it's tar. I feel too as much, even if you squeeze a lot of grapes in the same time, all the wine is tar. Can I say such a thing? Himself said, we learned this already. And if you have grapes that became tamei, you could squeeze them, but only pachis mishir mikabetza. You can only squeeze them slowly, less than a share of kabetza each time. Why? Because you said before that share kabetza is the share of food becoming tamei. So if it's less than a shir kabetza, so even though the grapes are tummy, but then if it's less than a shir kabetza, so they don't have a shir tuma, they can't be matam of the wine, and therefore, the wine is not makabel tuma. But if it's more than a kabetza, so then the wine could be makabel tuma. So how can a Bechanan say that you can squeeze the grapes on a shir without a shir if we said before they would do a shir? So one answer, two answers. First answer is Ibar Seima Hachinami Pachas Pachas Kabetza. First answer is Enochanami. Bechanan didn't mean to say you could squeeze however many grapes you want at the same time. He meant to say to squeeze the grapes, pachas mikabetza, you have to make sure it's less than a kabetza each time. It's one answer. Another answer is hasa. I mean, in the case of the Bechanan says that you should speaking about grapes, that person who was a rishon tuma touched the grapes, meaning a person touched that person. And now he becomes a Rishon, and he touched the grapes. What does he make the grapes? When Rishon touches something else, he makes it a Sheni. So the Hanu, the Sheni, the Inu Sheni, then now the grapes become a Sheni. And if the grapes become a Sheni, what are they going to make the wine? If the wine touches the grapes, the wine doesn't become a Shlishi. So therefore, you have to make sure the wine doesn't become a Shlishi. It has to be less than a Kabetza. But Hacha, in this case, Rabbi Yechanan said you can squeeze the grapes however many times you want. It's speaking about grapes that were the grapes that became Tameh through a sheni, the nagabo sheni, a second degree tumah touched him, meaning a person touched that person, and then he said shalom aleichem to someone else, and this Reuven said shalom aleichem to Shimon, and Shimon is the sheni touched the grapes. What do the grapes become? The grapes will become a shlishi, and the grapes will become a shlishi. The wine that touches the grapes, what's it going to become? A revi. We have a rule that a revi doesn't become tamei. So therefore, you don't have to be scared of the grapes become the grapes coming tamei. The grapes becoming tamei, the wine becoming coming through the grapes, because the grapes is a revi, a shlishi, and it makes a revi for tuma. And a revi b'tuma la'amina. and therefore you don't have to be worried about the grapes becoming tum. I can ask me if the grapes become tum, why organic hekdesh doesn't help. We have a rule. We already said that a revi for hekdesh could be, but a revi for sheni for a revi for chulin doesn't help. Doesn't make it tum. Amar Rava says, Af ana nami tanina. We also have, just a second, going back to the Avdimi's raya, the Chacham made the Maila, that something it was mukdash, it can never become tamid, it can never become Torah again. Amar Rava said, Af ana nami tanina. We also learned this in a brayso, so that we said the Chachamim made something, even if something was only mukdash bepeh, even if something was only mukdash, but someone was matched with his mouth, and not in the kelim mukdash, it still can never become Torah. We learn in a brayso. How do we learn in a brayso? Regarding the meichatos, regarding the water for the paradum, it says v'nasan olav ma'im chaim al kel. Says that you should put on the afer, you should put on the ashes ma'im chaim, the water of a mayim, the water of a spring al keli in the kli. So lashon ma'im chaim al keli, what does it mean? Ma'im chaim, living water, is mashma shetech yusan bakli. What does it mean? It means that the water should be living in the keli. What does it mean? It means it should come straight from the spring into the kli. Meaning you should have a kli full of ashes, and you should put water coming straight from a spring into this thing. So there should be no meaning the kli that you mamala the water from the kli that you fill up the water from the spring. That kli you should use it for the ashes. I mean, there should be no hefsek in between. So that's what mayim chaim. Mayim chaim, the kli, the water should be living in the kli, meaning the water should come directly from the spring into the kli, and not fill up from a second cup and then pour it into another kli. So that's what is mashma mayim chaim. But in the pasuk it says v'nasa means you should put mayim chaim into the kli. What does putting mean? Putting means that I have water in a kli and I should pour it into another kli. Again, the way it works is you go to a mine, go to a spring, and you fill up water for the mechat, for the paradum. So we do medayik from the pasuk as v'nasa mayim chaim al keli. Mayim chaim means that you should put the ashes in the same vessel that you use to fill up the water. On the other hand, the pasuk of v'nasa means that you should put. What do you mean to put? Putting means I have water in a cup or in a bottle, and I should put it in the kli, not fill up. So how does both things stem together? But we just said in the beginning of the brayso that the brayso has to be mechubar, that the mayim chaim has to be connected to the mine. I mean, he has to come straight from the mine to the kli. So what's the sacrifice? We have a state inside the brayso. Ella, Mila, Ella. So what does it mean? The brayso is teaching us midday raisa in the chanami. Midday raisa, you could fill up the water into a kli and then pour the water into another kli. But Mila, Chachamim made the special Mila, special chumra, the Masechta, you should use dafke from straight away from the spring. That's the kli you should use to fill up to put the ephod of the paradum. Hachanami. So over here, Mila Chachamim made the extra chumra for tara that the zriya, that pouring water from one thing to another doesn't help you, isn't matter something ba'achila either. Okay, we're going to stop over here with Aleph. We'll go over the first two lines tomorrow. Sehr gesund. Gute Nacht.